Hello, all you lovely individuals, and welcome back here to the League on Lock Studios. And heading into 2019, the big question mark for the entire LCK and all of Korean League of Legends, even beyond that, really. Everyone was interested. What is SKT going to do? They quickly locked up Faker, and then they built this super team to be around him, and immediately the hype train is there. Everyone's already picking out their SKT World skins for 2019. They're going to win both LCK splits. Doesn't matter what the rest of the rosters are in Korea because SKT is going to completely dominate. But maybe we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. On paper, it looks like they should have won the offseason because this team looks mechanically like it's probably the best iteration of SK Telecom that we've ever seen, which is definitely saying something considering teams of the past. But keep in mind, these five have never played together, and the majority of them have never played together. In fact, not one of these guys has been on a team together before, so talk about trying to create some synergy from absolutely nothing. Now, obviously, a guy like Mata and Faker are two guys that have shown they can play with pretty much any player on the planet and prefer to play with some better people. But Mata, in particular, has been on so many different teams. He's been on Beachy Gaming, RNG, obviously Samsung White. In his earlier days, he has been all over the place playing on different squads, and pretty much every single one, except for that Vici Gaming squad, was a contender to at least make top 8 at a world championship or win a domestic title. So obviously he's going to be comfortable implementing these players. He's going to be a great teacher for Teddy in that bottom lane. But again, these guys have never played together in any facet or any way, sort, or imagination. But obviously either way, regardless of that, it's a huge upgrade from that 2018 SKT roster. And when you're looking at offseason improvements and who wins the offseason, you've got to take a look at what roster they're coming from in 2018, and obviously it was just a disappointing year all around for SKT players, coaches, fans alike. No Worlds, only one playoff series win, which is unprecedented for this organization in League of Legends. So anytime you're going across the roster and you say Khan, that's going to be an upgrade over Tal or Antara. Klid and Haru, both of them, even your sub is probably an upgrade over your starting jungler from last split. Faker comes back. Teddy, now, I don't think that's a huge upgrade over Bang because Bang was actually the most consistent player on SKT in 2018, but we've seen the carry potential for Teddy, so at worst, you're going with a side grade there, and Effort or Wolf, Mata is going to be an upgrade over either one of them, so that's 3 upgrades in your roles and a side grade, and then obviously the same player coming in for Faker. So that's a pretty insane offseason if you're looking at it in that regards, and that's why obviously everyone is saying SKT wins the offseason. And you know, I'd have to agree, but really the only team, or there's a couple teams that you might be able to argue against that. I mean, Gen G brings in Peanut, they keep Ruler and Cuvee, although even keeping Cuvee was a little bit questionable, so you can't really compare them to SKT. Kingzone, they're bringing in Deft as a big move, and I don't think Kingzone roster quite goes up against SKT. The main one you could look at is KT Rolster, their main rival in the Telecom Wars, keeping Smeb in score, absolutely massive. I was very upset that they let UCal walk and go to the Afrika Freaks, but they get BDD, who is an upgrade over UCal, and one of the probably only 2 that I would say are an actual upgrade, maybe 3 over UCal in the entire LCK. So BDD, 2-time MVP, could have been the MVP again in the summer split, the best player on Kingzone, even when they were struggling, and even Snowflower. Obviously, that is a downgrade from Mata, but I think anyone they bring in is going to be a downgrade, and I actually like the Snowflower signing. He's been dominating the Turkish league, so even though that's a slight downgrade, I'm not saying that's a big weakness for this roster. Obviously, the main reason we can't say that they had a better offseason than SKT is because we don't know who their AD carry is going to be for the new split. I thought for sure it was going to be either Prey or Kramer. Kramer goes to China, and it sounds like Prey is retiring, so there's a pretty good chance that KT will be working on a young talent in the AD carry role, which Mark and I have both talked about. I don't think is the end of the world when you have guys like Smeb and BDD as your solo laners with the veteran leadership of Score. This is probably actually the perfect roster to bring in a young up-and-coming talent in that marksman spot with Snowflower, and then maybe you look at KT as their weak point as that bottom lane, but who knows if that AD carry develops into a fantastic player, then KT are looking like geniuses, because free agent signings for someone to bring in that AD carry spot there's not many left. Maybe you bring someone like Mystic over from World Elite or something, because they have a pick of the litter of AD carries. They have tons on that roster, but is that really better than just bringing in a young talent? Because Mystic, he showed last year, and really ever since 2017 has not been playing at the same level that we saw at that World Championship run for World Elite. So I'm not sure that's who you want to be bringing in if you're KT. I'm sure they have some plan in place, because, I mean, they must. That's basically the main roster spot left that we're waiting on for KT to bring in. But until they bring in that spot, you can't say that they had a better offseason than SKT. If you're the Afrika Freaks, they've had a pretty darn good off time as well, bringing in UCal, who we mentioned, to pair with Keen. That is a pretty incredible and terrifying team to go up against, just with those solo laners as your main focal point. That's who you want to build an organization around for the next few years. And the other team you can talk about winning the offseason is the team that made no moves. Griffin coming in. If you get to the world or the finals for the LCK, why do you need to change anything? This is the main win for them, because they've got all this synergy coming right back. We just talked about SKT. Not a single one of the players have played together. Griffin just played an entire split together and have already played together in the Challenger Series. So even with this new lineup for SKT in the spring split, I think Griffin are still favored ahead of them just because they have so much experience playing together. It's no doubt going to take SKT some time to build up the communication, build up the synergy, how exactly they want to play this team, what their best win conditions are, figuring out the meta. Figuring out the meta with an entirely new team is got to be one of the most difficult things to do as a professional squad, because you're juggling so many things at once. What champions are the best? What you're trying to figure out your team's champion pools as well, because they've never played together. So Griffin coming in, making no changes to that roster. The only thing changing is they've got a bigger org backing them now financially. So it's only going to be even better for them in terms of the gaming house and all the structure that the team will have behind them. So if you're Griffin, you could argue that you won the offseason by making no moves when pretty much every other team in the LCK had some sort of roster swap. So I'd be feeling pretty darn good if I'm Griffin heading in to 2019.